Alright, so we have here the model on subdivision level 2. I think we could even subdivide it one more time. This way we can make some poly paintings to show you a better anatomical structures and all of those features in this region, into this top region of the forehead. So let me subdivide it. Here we have 3 subdivision levels, but actually never don't care too much about the number of subdivision levels. It's better to keep your attention in the quantity of the number of the active points that you can always see, check it here, and also the density of the model. Like in this case, it's still not dense enough, but we can start to make some. Yeah, let's subdivide it one more time. Okay, just for the moment. But before we continue and I show you on the model itself, let me show you some structures that we have here in Cranium. I got some reference here to show you some of those regions that I gonna present you in this region of the frontal bone. The frontal bone is this one in yellow. It contains all this region with like this part here, which looks like a semisphere, and this region, which is the margin, the supraorbital margin, right? And this region that in this image we cannot see it perfectly, but we have the superciliary arches. Where it is? Yeah, it's not showing this into this structure, but I've separated here. The arches are this part here. It's like a prominence that we have between the two orbital fossa. The orbital fossa, I mean, like this holes for the eyes, right? But the eyes will not fill all of this space. The eyes will be most of the time like more like this size, an average, and not well centered, a little bit on the top and close to the center, right? But let me first say about this superciliary arch. Is this structure here? You can check by the lighting information that we have kind of a prominence into this region, and you can see great volume over there. It's kind of like if we have, imagine that if this structure here continues behind this volume, right? These are called the supraorbital margin, but then you fit this structure just like that. This has a face that is facing to the bottom, right? The same for this side, a face facing to the bottom part of the cranium, and this part is facing to the top, right? So we have here a nice illustration from Stepan Roger's back that it looks kind of an accessory. I don't know how we could say, but it's something that it fits just on the margin, this should be like the margin that we draw in yellow, and then this part in green gonna fit into this region, right? And here you can see all of those, all of the volume that its structure has. This structure has here. You can see that we have this face in shadow and this other face in light. So it means there are a kind of change of planes here. This should be a change of planes, right? And this will be the region that we're gonna have the brawl. Because of this, some people call this region as brow ridge. So let me show you here where it would be the brow. The eyebrows will start to grow into this region, and once it goes over the margin, it starts to change the directions of the follicles, the hair. All right. Once it's in this region, it will like grows to the top, to the upper part, and then it starts to change its direction. Okay, this is for the eyebrows, but before we continue, let me show you and present you a better explanation of the features of the bone, the skull of the cranium itself. So let me first present you this forehead region, which is the frontal bone that we have said. We're gonna have like all this region here as the frontal bone. Okay, we even have like this region that is the temporal ridge, right? This will marks a nice separation between the frontal bone and the temporal, right? The temporal is this side. Let me do in red. This side of the cranium, where we're gonna have a muscle going to this direction, and a muscle responsible for the mastication. Let me check this. Yeah, the mastication is the muscle responsible for the chewing part. Okay, so it starts here. It has its origin, and it's gonna attach right behind this this arch, the zygomatic arch that I'm gonna show you, and it's gonna attach over there in the jaw, right in this region here in the jaw. Okay, so going in sequence, first on the frontal bone that we were saying. Here you're gonna have kind of semisphere shape, kind of a disc, right? That is gonna be like so, and then we're gonna have, let me do in blue. You can see that we have that region that we call the superciliary arches, and we have a nice change of planes over there, with this face going facing to the bottom, to the ground, and this face looking to the top. All right. And then we can draw maybe in green. We're gonna have this nice region that I usually call, not only me, but everyone, it's called the supraciliary margin. So you can even touch your above your eyes here, and you can feel this bone structure there. Okay, these are the margin. These are the arches. And here in red, we're gonna have this structure that is the nasal bone. That is the same over there, here, right? Oh, I should have shown more of the side here, so it would be better to present you the structures. But once if I change, I'm gonna lose all those drawings that I have made. So these are the arches. Remember this face to the bottom, and then we can draw it here. Maybe, let me see, red, yeah, and blue also. We're gonna have this region that is the zygomatic bone. The zygomatic bone, as I've already said, is the region of the skull responsible for the cheek volume, right? The same for the other side. And this is the arch of the zygomatic arch, right? All of this region here, and here is the zygomatic bone. Oops. Yeah. Here's the nasal fossa. And then we're gonna have all this region here. The maxilla. And then into this bottom part will be the mandible. Okay, here is the fossa, nasal fossa, and here the orbital fossa. All right. So once again, to this side, all of this region is the mandible, and notice that this region is actually separated from the cranium structure. You can separate. This is just attached on a place here behind the zygomatic arch, and it goes kind of inside, you know, behind the zygomatic bone there, and it's our jaw. And yeah, that's it. So here is the nasal fossa that I always say about that line of the thirds, remember? The nasal fossa, and then here in green, the maxilla. I just forgot to say also, this is the frontal eminence. Oops. Yeah. So just by reviewing those structures that we have made on creating that base mesh, we can remember that we have said about the thirds lines. You remember? So here you have the thirds line of the face. So the first one, we're gonna have the base of the nasal fossa, the base of zygomatic bone. Let me do with the arrow. The base of nasal fossa, the base of zygomatic bone, and the base of the back of head, right? This second line, we're gonna have the high of eyebrows, so the region of this encounter for the supraciliary arches with the supraciliary margin, right? Then this will be the hairline. So let me write hairline, that most of the time the hair will start in this line. Here will be the eyebrows, base of zygomatic and nasal fossa, and here the base of chin. Okay, so this is like an approximated info, but will be kind of the same size, not exactly, but it's for us to map, have a map yourself to have a map of the structures of the face, you know. So from this you can know that the orbital fossa will be like in this format. like remembering the that reminds Ray-Ban eyeglasses lens. This is the format, right? And you can note that in this case the zygomatic and the eyes fossa will not take the same size. The eyes fossa will be a little bit bigger than this high for the zygomatic bone, and then we're gonna have the eyes fossa, right? And this region for the nasal bone, this will be different for each person, right? And always you can check those lines and compare like the highs of each feature. In this case, like the base of the eyes fossa, the end of nasal bone, the start of the glabella. The glabella, once again, is this region in the middle between the eyebrows. Is the region that is facing to the bottom, not facing to the top, right? It makes part of the supraciliary arches, because as you can see here, the supraciliary arches are like here. Okay, I'm not really sure. I think I made a mistake. It's not supra, I think it's super. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's superciliary arches, because it's over the arches, right? Supraciliary ridge. Yeah, I don't know. There are some parts, some image that they say supra, and other that it says super. So I'm not anatomist, so I cannot say exactly. I don't know precisely what is the right name, but the arches. Okay, if you don't want to memorize all this name, you can just memorize like the arches and the margin. Look here. The margin and the arches or the ridge.